welcome. I'm going to share a few tweets and then I'm going to talk a little bit about. I'm going to continue the theme on trust and community building. And I'm going to talk about high trust communities and low trust communities and what they look like. And what happens when, as so often happens, they both types show up in the same place. Um, okay, but first let's do a little bit of tweets and welcome everybody. Here's one from Wilfred Riley. We were talking about asylum the other day and immigration, and he says virtually all asylum seekers are economic migrants who are lying. That's a bold claim. There are no wars in Mexico, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Bukele era El Sal, Poland, China, Jamaica, etc. Even if there were, the USA is almost never the first safe country for someone fleeing those places. Even if it were, almost no undocumented migrants enter in proper fashion through ports of entry. The left wing position on this point basically breaks down to empathy requires us to believe obvious lies, demon. I'll take the demon title for sure. Where's Bukele El Sal? Salvador. No. Maybe that's just what he calls it. Anyway, that's the point of asylum seekers. Okay, the other thing I want to do is I want to show this chart. There's here, I'll put it in the chat. There's something called the Harvard CAPS Harris poll, and they periodically take polls of people's different positions on things. It's a 47-page document. We're going to look at just two of the pages because I think they're relevant and interesting. Okay, let's see how normal Jeff is. Okay, these are the top. It should be trusted. I don't know why they say tested. The favorability of these institutions. These are the top. The U.S. military, look at this. A favorable view, 77%. 10% unfavorable. 68% gap between the two. This is the people that have an unfavorable view. Red is highly unfavorable. Pink is just unfavorable. Blue is highly favorable. Pale blue is just favorable. So this blue area, 77% of people have a favorable view of the military. All of these anti-military industrial complex, you are the minority. For once, I feel like the norm. This election has made me feel even more normal than I've already felt hanging out on YouTube the past couple of years. I feel like the voter, I'm aligned with the median voter. I'm aligned with people on my positions about the military. Look, FBI, that includes FBI's law enforcement. 52% favorable. Homeland Security, I think it drops under 50% once it gets to NATO. The Supreme Court, 44 versus 38, there's a 6% gap between favorable and unfavorable, so I'm aligned there. It's interesting to me, look, Fox News, 42%, CNN, NBC, 40 and 35. I never thought I'd see the day where Fox News was the channel that was more trusted than CNN, MSNBC. It's not till we get to the MAGA Republicans, not Republicans, but MAGA Republicans, that it tilts more toward the unfavorable. Look at what the most. Oh, they don't have it here. On the other polls, they had campus protesters and all the wokeness. It was down here at the bottom. Well, you can see where Hamas is, 4%. The majority at 64% finds it Hamas unfavorable. 7% find it favorable. And then this is the one I really want to show. The top issues for voters: price increases, inflation, mainly the pricing. The prices we're paying at the grocery store. 41% of people, that was their top issue. Immigration, 35%. Economy and jobs, 31%. Look at that. This is over a third of the country. This was their top issue. Then it drops to 18% women's rights, which is abortion, healthcare, crime, drugs, environment, etc. Look way down here. Race relations, 4%. Nobody cares about wokeness. January 6th, 5%. Nobody cares about that shit anymore. Political correctness, cancel culture, 3%. This is what the country is worried about. The prices and the unchecked immigration. I just read that tweet on asylum seekers and how they come under here under false pretenses. So, anyway, I just want to share that. All right, now we're going to talk about right. I'm telling you, the left is in an information bubble where all of the issues at the bottom of that chart are the dominant crises happening in America and the world right now. Nobody else thinks so, just them. Yeah, could be that. I think they're probably tied together. Although I think the high prices are mostly we saw those spike up after 2020 from all the supply chain disruptions, and they're probably not coming back down. So I can understand why that would be a top issue. I mean, I'm even myself, I'm tired of paying the high prices at the grocery store. Before COVID, I could usually feed myself. Lunch was about $7. I could find something to eat on $7. I could usually feed myself for 12, $15 a day. And now it's like 20 or $25 a day just to eat. And that's like cheap cutting corners type food. Hey, Angeline, good to see you. Oh, I'm glad you showed up. You're the perfect person to have here as we talk about different types of communities, high trust versus low trust. Because I'm how do I want to say this? We're I think we're building trust. I don't think the trust is completely built yet. I think there are people that don't trust me as much as I thought they did. I'm learning that the people I thought I could trust, I can't trust them as much as I thought I could. So my trust meter was very, very off. And so I want to at least set forth a forth of an ideal of a community that is high in trust. Hey, Dobes, good to see you too. Stop by later if you have a chance. Oh, Zance, I'm sorry. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Okay, so again, I'm got using the AI. Got some help from AI. Okay, so what is a high trust community? A high trust community is what I'm trying to build here. And when you have actual high trust, this is what a high trust community looks like. Um, they give several characteristics, the first of which is transparency. The members in a high trust community communicate openly and honestly. I try my hardest to do that here. I think I'm succeeding, at least by my own standards and sense of it, and it feels like other people are doing it. I can't tell what they're holding back or not, but at least I'm trying to do it. There's less fear of judgment and manipulation. Also, consistency. People's actions align with their words. That say it, mean it, do it heuristic that I um, find so helpful in my own life. Members can rely on each other's to follow through on their commitments. There's reliability. If somebody says something, you can count on them to do it. Mutual respect. Members value each other's contributions and perspectives, even during disagreements. We disagree on here all the time. And I don't think it means that most of us have lost respect for each other in the process. I think it's fine to disagree. It's even fine to have strong emotions during a disagreement. It doesn't mean anything about the trust, the relationships, and the respect that's being built here. Conflict resolution, the issues addressed constructively. with the focus on finding solutions rather than assigning blame. That's absolutely what I do here. I'm very practical, pragmatic, solutions focused. If there's conflict, let's find a way to move past. Let's learn what we can from it and find a way to move past it. And also, they call it psychological safety. You know, I don't like the safety word, but people feel comfortable expressing vulnerability, asking for help, coming here with their problems, um, admitting mistakes without fear of ridicule, etc. All of those are characteristics of a high trust community, unless I'm deluding myself, which I could very well be. I believe that I see this happening here for the most part to a greater degree than perhaps in other places. So I feel comfortable calling this a high trust community or a community well on its way toward becoming a high trust community. The benefits of a high trust community: stronger relationships. People come here, this is a third space. People come here to meet other people and make connections with people they might not ordinarily meet in real life. And I feel like the connections here, um, it says members form meaningful, supportive connections. I feel like they're meaningful. They appear to be meaningful to me. They appear to be supportive. I definitely try to give that kind of support. Um, Greater collaboration. It fosters teamwork and innovation. People can come here. Joe and I have our Nexus project going on where people can come and collaborate and bring their skill set and add it to the pool, and we try to make something bigger than what each individual person brings to it. And we try to collaborate. We innovate. We're very experimental here. We're open to new ideas. We're always ready for other people to come and jump in and with their ideas and kind of use this place as a little workshop or laboratory for their own projects and get support for that. Taking risk, um, creative risk, psychological risk, interpersonal risk. I feel like all that happens here. Also, growth. Communities thrive because trust reduces friction and it allows members to focus on shared goals. We don't have to like constantly be watching our back and be paranoid about other people not having our back. We can kind of relax and all collaborate together on mutual goals. I'm not sure we're quite at that stage yet, but think I think it's getting there with certain people more than others, I guess. And we'll talk about that admixture in a minute. And also resilience. High trust communities can weather crises and conflicts because members work together to overcome challenges. We've had since I've been doing this, we've had trolls and drama people trying to tear it down, trying to um, undermine what I'm doing here, and we're still here. The same regulars are still here, um, all collaborating together and continuing to trust each other, I hope. So I think we have a degree of resilience here too. It gives the examples of close knit teams or families where people openly share ideas and rely on each other, and online spaces where kindness and mutual respect are actively cultivated. Okay, let's talk about low trust communities. These are the characteristics of a low trust community. We can see if they sound familiar. Secrecy and suspicion. Members withhold information and second guess motives. I do think the reason I know this is happening is when I go on other channels, I see what people here actually say and I match it to what they say here, and I'm like, okay, I didn't realize they thought that. Oh, I didn't realize they felt that. That was definitely not. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there's definitely information that shows up in other places that does not show up here. And I know people second guess my motives all the time. I'm not sure how much trust I built with individual people. I think there's a lot of people that still are suspicious of me or don't necessarily take me at my word. Um, I can only do what I can do on my end. If you want to build additional trust, let's do that. I'm always open for that. Another characteristic is inconsistency. Broken promises, people don't do what they say, actions don't match words, etc. You get power struggles, you get mistrust and distrust that leads to competition and turf wars rather than cooperation. I noticed in some of these communities there's little groups that cluster up and kind of all get together and hate bond and then tag team other groups. I'm thrown in with certain people and people will attack me as a proxy for that person, or they'll attack that person as a proxy for me. Those kind of little tribalistic clusters form, and the competition and strife begins to form between them. And I definitely see that in the low trust communities. Conflict avoidance or escalation. The problems fester due to fear of addressing them, or they spiral out of control due to blame and hostility. Absolutely. I don't think most of the low trust communities are here to actually solve problems or resolve conflict. I think they rely on the conflict and they find ways to inflame it because it gets them clout with their in group, and it continues the hate bonding, reinforces the bond between them. It's very low level. It's that bottom of the chart in the red zone that I show all the time, which I'll pull up right now. This chart. It's this here, the people affected by long-term damage and damaging the quality of channels and programs that let them in. It's those people. Also, it says lack of safety. People are more guarded. They make themselves less vulnerable. They're hesitant to participate fully. We talked the other day about this idea of guarding your emotions and not letting everybody see them and just saving them for targeted trusting people. In a high trust community, I think there's less of that. That's more characteristic of what I would say is a low trust community. The the outcomes or results of a low trust community. The connections are very shallow and superficial. They're not deep. They're transactional. They're superficial, they're tribalistic, like I said. They don't encourage community cohesion. They limit community cohesion by fragmenting um, everything into these little troll and drama groups. Also, stagnation. They don't grow beyond that initial baseline level, that red zone that I just showed. The fear and mistrust hinders the innovation necessary um, to grow, and it discourages active participation. I notice that if anybody in these groups tries to take a step towards some kind of higher value, the whole group will come together and start to shame and guilt them and try to pull them back down to the drama level. That kind of stuff. There's a high turnover. I've definitely left many of those communities when that kind of low tier drama crap starts. And they're fragile. Low trust communities are more likely to dissolve under stress. Um, they give the example of workplaces with a lot of micromanagement and cultures where employees are kind of pitted against each other in competition and nobody can really trust anybody. And online groups dominated by trolling, divisiveness, or clique dynamics. We definitely see that here. Now, sometimes you have both groups show up in the same place. And it says in some communities, trust can vary among the different individual members or subgroups. And this can create friction, especially if there's high trust participants that clash with low trust behaviors, such as manipulation or gossip. And that, I think, is what is happening here. What I'm trying to do is identify where the actual, authentic, legitimate trust is and grow and reinforce that and kind of weed out the what I thought was trust that's not really trust thing. Addressing the tensions often involves resetting expectations and actively reinforcing the trust building practices, which is definitely what I'm here to do. Let me see if there's anything else. The best thing to do, I think, is to just continue to reinforce the values that this community is built on. And I have the set of community guidelines that's linked in the description. You can pull them up and read them. That's what our community is about. It's a place where people can come and be themselves, be authentic, not feel like they have to hold back. We can be open and transparent with each other. We can resolve conflict in a healthy way um, through that openness and transparency. All of that should contribute to building trust. It does for me at least. If it's not for you and you're still wanting to have that trust, talk to me. Let's figure out ways to get to like establish that trust and grow, build on it. Um, and being proactive about conflict. I think I'm pretty good about this. I don't let the conflict fester. I call it out the second it happens. We block and ban here liberally when people are here to disrupt or cause drama and are not here for the purpose that this community is designed for, etc. So I'm going to continue to do that, and I guess celebrate the positive more, the things that we are doing right. Just continue to acknowledge that and celebrate that. Um, Let me catch up on comments real quick. Yeah, you have a good point because this is such an open community. It's on YouTube and the whole world could see it. It's you're kind of being vulnerable in public, and I think that's always a risk. There's nothing this community can actually do to mitigate the risk of strangers anywhere in the world watching your vulnerability and then exploiting it outside of this channel. Now, we do have a Discord where a lot of this continues off stream in the Discord, and that's a little more contained. Only the people in the Discord can participate. But there's also nothing to stop somebody from the Discord posting it or sharing it with other people. But that's always been an issue with online interactions. Even back in the AOL days, at the bulletin board days, people could copy private instant messages and share it with other people. Um, Even if I trust the person, I don't necessarily trust the platform. Correct. And we've had situations. Hey, Daniel Barry, we have had situations where I've been in private conversations with people I thought I could trust, and they were recording the conversation the whole time. So nothing is ever 100% secure or private online. You just have to be aware of that. You have to try to identify the people that you think you can trust that are not going to abuse or exploit your trust, and just continue to strengthen and reinforce your bonds with them. And I'm trying very hard to demonstrate that I can be one of those people. I'm trying to be one of those people. I would like a community of people like me and other people that place the same value on that kind of trust. Let's see, complex PTSD, right? Yep. Because with me, I'm naturally just very trusting. I give people a lot of trust until I have reason to not to. When I do recognize a reason not to, I can pull the trust away like that. I have no problem disinvesting. But because partly is I only see what happens on this channel. I rarely go to other channels and kind of see what goes on outside of here. When I do, that's where a lot of my trust gets shaken. And because what I see is almost directly contradictory to what people present here. And that's when I start to realize that I think a lot of people have the best intention, but I think there's politics involved. I think there's groupthink involved. Like, I don't have a problem if I know something is right. I'm going to stand on it and speak on it regardless of the political risk. But I think some people calculate the risk of presenting one way in one community and then maybe not taking a stand in another community because there's a political risk to it, or they're trying to build trust with certain people there, so they don't want to compromise. It's this political calculus that people do, and it makes them appear to me. It makes them appear trustworthy. Um, sorry, untrustworthy. I don't do that. If I have your back, I'm going to have your back all the time, everywhere. It doesn't matter the risk to me. I'm secure in myself. I'm secure in what I'm doing on this channel. Um, I'm willing to take risk to protect people, to protect the relationships I have with people that I can trust, and to protect the trust that I've invested in those people. Um, Plus, I'm less vulnerable to groupthink. I think I've talked about this before at my last job, where I had individual connections with each one of my coworkers, and we had very like unique, special relationships that I thought were sound and trustworthy. And then we get in a staff meeting, they become totally different people because I realize they're not just having to relate to me anymore. They're having to relate to every other person that they also have an individual relation to. And so they kind of adopt this new persona to try to manage all of the relationships at once because they're all in the room together. And it's very different than the way they would manage it with me if we were one on one in private. And I don't have that. I don't have that ability to code switch. I'm going to be the same way with you one on one that I am in a community, and I don't have to second guess or if I'm consistent in a value or behavior with you in person, that should carry through even if we're in a group together. But I notice that I might be a rarity there, and I think other people kind of weigh the social options and consequences in each situation before they make decisions on what to do. I think people are more conservative with their commitment in groups than they are individuals. So I have to learn and I have to remember that what I'm perceiving is not necessarily the larger reality, and what I think I have with individuals in private is not necessarily the reality when they get around other people in other groups. And yes, what Kitty says here, please bonk particularly the subscribe button, because that's what really gets my numbers up. I'm trying to break 1,000 by the end of the year, and telling your friends, like letting other people know about the channel, getting the word out, and bring your friends here. Like the more the more people that I trust bring the people they trust, I think that could go a long way toward creating the kind of community I'm trying to create here too. Let's see. I try. Sometimes I worry that I care too much. I overinvest to my detriment. But I don't know if I can stop that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because I, being an authentic person myself, I think that I recognize what looks like the same thing in other people, but it's sometimes I get thrown off or confused by things I like inauthentic things that I witness that appear inauthentic or contradict that authenticity. It's rough. I don't have the answer. Angeline, you are bringing the wisdom today. Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I think there are signs of untrustworthy people. I guess that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about these high trust, low trust communities, I'm talking about high trust, low trust individuals and how to be a high trust individual. And I think if you're at a stage where your dominant mode is low trust or all you've ever known are low trust relationships, you may not have a roadmap to how to be high trust. Or even if you're motivated to, you may not know how. I guess just continue to find other high trust people and learn from them or hang around them and see what they do and absorb that. All right, let's see. Yes. Yeah. I call it integrity or self consistency. That's what I call that being able to sleep at night. When I lay my head on my pillow at night, I don't have anything tearing at my conscience or bothering me, or I'm not in any kind of inner turmoil or conflict because of an action I took that contradicted some value of mine or something that I told somebody I was going to do and I acted differently. I'm pretty much free of all that every single night that my head hits the pillow. Ah ha ha. Right. Nigerian prince fucked it up for everybody. Cool. Good. Thanks for stopping by, Kitty. We love our resident house pet. Hey, Tommy. Well, we do that here. If you ever want to be torn down, let me know. We're pretty good at that here. Also, problem solving. Um, we We want your problems. Bring your problems. We want to help solve them. All right. Let's see. I guess that's all I have for trust. I just wanted to throw out that contrast between high trust, low trust communities. Here is the link. Panel's open. I'll go for about another hour and a half, unless I get 20 bucks or so to keep going. All right. Yeah, that's come up a lot. It's the thing I call masking, but Joe talks about it. You talk about it. Other people have talked about it. Like what you choose to show to others and what you kind of hold back. And we looked at that Johari window the other day. Oh, Beak, thank you so much. Maybe we'll get a longer stream today. Thank you very very much. Um, this thing here. So this is they call this the arena. This is the public square. This is the part of you that you know about yourself and that you show to others. These are all the things you choose to show to others and that others know about you. And then you have your little facade part, your mask, where you keep this is all the things you keep back. You have a little closet you hide things in and you either only show it to certain people or you don't show it to anyone at all. And then you have this blind spot area which are things other people can see about you, but you cannot see about yourself. You just can't incorporate them into your self concept, but other people at least appear to be able to see them about you. I suspect that sometimes these people are just mistaken because it's a superficial view from the outside, and there's like a theory of mind conflict. But let's assume, at least potentially, there are some things that maybe other people can know about you that you don't know about yourself. And then you have this unknown area where it's the unexplored territory of your own self or psyche. It's the things you have not discovered about yourself yet, nor do other people know that they're in there. And these could be good or bad. So it's kind of that. It's kind of that little facade area. And I think I imagine people do it for protection. I don't feel I first of all I'm very low fear. That's not an emotion I feel easily. So I don't have a lot of fear from people to begin with. I've had all the negative social consequences from being yourself very very early, and I'm kind of desensitized or immune to it by now. So for me, it's very low risk not to mask and to show people those parts of myself because 99% of the people might hate me, but that 1% are going to be fine with it, and then that's who I waste my time on. Um, so for me, it's very easy to not mask because I don't have this heightened sense of fear around it to begin with. But for people that it's more of a risk, I can understand the motivation for maybe
Uh,
keeping the mask on. Oh, sure, and I'll post the link to it. It's from Wikipedia. It's called the Johari window. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, so it's interesting that we're talking about that. The not showing your whole self, the masking. Um, it's good to see Angeline again. I don't think I've seen her for like a month now. Um, so maybe she can chime in the chat. But um, one thing I've discussed with Jeff a lot is, you know, because Jeff, I is sort of erring on the side of thinking that if you mask, you're hiding your true self. And I have suggested that for some people, in some cases, um, the mere act of masking changes you such that the line between the mask and the self disappears. And in fact, the mask is you, but it's just, it's like I compared it to like when people join the military, they do a lot of things to hide themselves from their adversaries, right? They do
The
camouflage and
camouflage.
take cover and concealment, and they develop the habits to do that. They develop a tactical
But
sense
that's
of
a
things.
wartime
It's a war, but
mentality.
there are people who go into the military and say, "Wow, this is me. This is what I'm going to do." Right? George S. Patton was that guy. He's like, "Yes, I want to be a soldier my whole life. That's all I'm about." There are people, lots of people, they didn't grow up that way. That was not at all their upbringing, because generally speaking, you don't put kids through a war, and then it's something they find in themselves. And then,
But
when
kids
they
do
leave,
fight on the playground.
they do that, but it's nothing compared to the
But I'm
context of a
just saying,
war.
like the soldier persona or identity could be an outward form of some kind of archetypal reality that exists, and so like that could be their true self, a
Yeah,
soldier,
and
a
so,
warrior.
but it's a form of masking. Like when you're a soldier, like they teach us a lot about OPSEC. Like, be careful who you talk about. Like, they tell us to be careful about what we share on social media, just because everything is intel. There are agents all over the world. Anybody who's a member of the military could be a target, and they say to folks to be mindful. So you're not just worrying about that stuff when you're on deployment in a theater of war, but even when you're back home, um, there you have to keep those things in mind. And yeah, some people embrace that. Some people like it. Some people think, I wish I had been this way sooner. And um, so that's what I think. And I think the other thing too is like Angeline said, um, that you can't just put yourself out, like, your heart on your sleeve everywhere you go, and expect it to be appropriate, or even if appropriateness isn't the real question, it to get good results. It's one. It's like you have to question whether or not it's necessary, to always be showing what you are feeling and thinking at like a deep level. And then if it's not necessary and it leads to bad results, like, why do it?
Well, it depends on
There's
your
another.
goal. Is your goals to be yourself, or is it to get positive results from society?
Um. Well, yeah, I would say achieving goals is sort of like, you get positive results. So the measure of positive results, you could say, is whatever your goals are, did the strategy you undertook help achieve them? And so,
And what if
are
your
you trying
goal is to be in alignment with your authentic self? Then it would be perfectly appropriate to wear your heart on your sleeve at all times
to?
because you are living out your authentic self. I go back to the example of gay people. Like gay people discover that there's rarely ever a time where going back in the closet is a path to any kind of authentic goal of being your true self. Yes, it might
Mhm.
get you social advantages, but at what price?
Yeah. And I would say that's I think a good example of being in the closet is often more akin, because we also talked about two types of masking, right? There's one where you put on a mask with a fake expression, and there's one where you put on a mask that simply indicates no expression, right? Not that you don't necessarily feel anything, but whatever it is that you do feel, it's just there's no information on it, right? You can wear like a sheen white mask with eye holes in it. There's no
Like your
nose
poker
or,
face.
yeah, basically. And that's the thing. Poker face is, someone might seem like they're not feeling anything, or at the very least, they're not using expressions to communicate it. Whereas when people do a fake smile, they're trying to send a signal that they are happy with something or pleased with something, usually. Um, and they're conveying a false emotion, right? So those are two different types of masking. Um, I don't think I do a lot of the fake masking. In fact, this is part of why I often go for more of a plain appearance, is that I don't want to convey emotions that I don't actually feel, right? So I don't want to be inauthentic in the sense that, like, I'm deceptive about what I feel. And I think with gay people being in the closet, I mean, to be in the closet essentially means you're leading people to believe that you're straight until you come out again. I don't think a lot of it is sort of
Yeah, it's
lying by
presenting a
omission, right?
false reality.
Right? Like you'll like got gay people in the closet that, but like, oh yeah, she has nice tits, right? And they might not actually care, of course, because they're gay, but they're going to go along with that stuff and do everything to suggest that they're straight, even if they don't ever actually say, I am a heterosexual man
Yeah.
or a heterosexual woman. And that I don't think is helpful, right? I don't think deception is particularly good. Um, and
Well, let me ask you this: when you're doing the poker face,
mhm.
because I can't ever tell when you're having an emotion or not unless you verbalize it, or like the few times where I could actually see the passion come out of you. How many
Mhm.
times when you're poker facing do you actually have an emotion going on under the surface and we just can't tell?
I would say sometimes, like, I don't really know a rate of it. Like, I couldn't say, oh, 15% of the time. I don't know because I'm not thinking about it like
But there
that.
are
But
some times where you're
yeah,
having more
so
of an emotion than it is visible to the rest of us.
yeah, so like, I mean, you saw me when that guy confronted me at the coffee shop.
Yeah. Did you have an
Um,
emotion?
I went from being in a much calmer mood to definitely being like more alert and wondering what he was up to. But and if you saw my face and my body language at the time, um, I did nothing to communicate antagonism with him, um, because I did not want to escalate the situation, right? So, uh, one of the advantages there is that it actually can be a good measure of other people, which is that if you have interactions or relationships fall apart, even when you know you did all the right things not to escalate a situation, that can be a good measure of when it's time to drop that person,
Hmm.
right? So always having what you feel like, well, you know what, fuck you, out on your sleeve. Well, if you holster that and kind of let things play out and see what happens, even if you almost might think of it as like a control group for your emotions. If you're familiar with what a control group is in an experiment,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've done
kind
experiments.
kind of like that, right? And if if that gets a certain result, then it gives you sort of an indication of of what to expect of that person going forward. So, like, when I went to
But
the yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, when I visited that asexual forum again recently, because I wanted to see what people's thoughts and reactions were to the election outcome, and I went in with a very plain response. But the fact that it was just plain, and I was not um, indulging in their shared terror of Donald Trump's victory and what's going to happen with that, that alone provoked a hugely negative reaction. It was like the like fastest, like 0 to 100 drama in that community I had ever seen or experienced. And I know, like, in the past, I had been, so we're talking years ago, like back in 2016, I had been more likely to do things to escalate a situation. I did absolutely none of that in this case, right? I've learned from my mistakes in the past, and I really, I was hoping to see just what people thought. I was just interesting to just fish for their stream of thought and their consciousness, and just to interact with them and see what their thought process would have been to things. And it in their case, they wanted like just a complete shared conformity about the results of the election, and me kind of coming in without even really having an opinion, just thinking that the outcome was interesting, um, was interpreted as being secretly conservative and an
So they didn't
adversary.
want your real self. They wanted a certain
Right, they
manufactured.
they didn't want me, right? And so, but even with me just sort of like not even saying, like, putting myself out. And this is a reaction I even got from people who weren't familiar with me. So, like, some of the people who are familiar with me, I suspect would have reason not to trust my motives. I mean, I would say the people who were familiar with me still hugely misunderstood my motives, even back in the years past. Like, the whole issue with that community is just that they kind of always have had their head up their ass with left wing activism and this mind reading thing. But the initial bad reaction I got were from people who were newer to the community and did not recognize me. Right, so which I thought was interesting and very telling of the kind of mindset there. And so, if I had come in swinging and got a bad result, that would be one thing, right? But it really does reveal something about other folks if you can come in with a much plainer approach and you still get a bad reaction, right? That tells you a lot more about
But
that kind of
okay, what's
person.
the difference between that and just being yourself and seeing what the reaction is? Like that's the easiest way to test somebody's reaction to your authentic self is to just show them your authentic
I'm not
self and
trying. I'm
see
not
what the reaction
necessarily.
is.
I'm not necessarily trying to test their reaction to my authentic self, right? Um, it is helpful to see how people react to essentially, which is almost nothing at all, right? Like, um, if you're just if you being plain and calm and not escalating isn't good enough for folks, right? That tells you more about them, right? Because if I'm confrontational, of course people are going to be confrontational with me. Like I'm almost inviting it if I meet that out. Um, and if I want to see something productive
That's
happen,
subjective. Like a lot of people take something as confrontation that might not necessarily be intended as confrontation. And again, going back to gay, some people thought just a gay person out of the closet, they were being confrontational when they were just being themselves.
it's
And
true.
hey,
It's some of
TML,
it is
welcome.
is confrontational, but um um some even if you aspire to be as close to most people's idea of neutral and plain as possible, it says something if that's not good enough for folks, right? And I would not learn that um if I just went in and decided to be my authentic self. And again, we can really debate what my authentic self is. Is my authentic self always going to be like a guy who says, "Well, fuck you"? Not really, no. Um, because like I'm not in one mood all the time either. So there is that. And um, yeah, but
Well,
but
here's a guy I think that you don't ever mask, do you? We pretty much always get the real TML.
but again, Jeff, I would insist that it when you say it's sometimes not the real me. I would say the act of masking is transformative of the self and
Like what I
is
saw
something
the
really
other
cool.
night when you were on the stream talking all passionate, I would say, "Oh, that's the real Joe. Oh, I finally saw the real Joe. This persona, poker face persona guy. I don't consider that the real Joe after seeing what he's actually capable of. So now I have two different Joes, and one seems more real than another Joe.
And I would say that the real Joe is a set of interactions and someone who knows, um, when to be excited, when to be calm, who manages his emotions and
I'm not
knows
buying it.
when
I
they're
think the
in.
other night was the real you,
Okay, well, if you don't
and
buy it, you don't
and
buy it.
and,
But
and all the other parts were the calculated you.
I would say the calculated me is someone I became because long term I'm
Right.
following my own emotions, which is I'm not happy with my life. I'm not happy with who I am. I'm not happy with how I treat others. How do I become better? Right? Um, become more self-aware of my emotions. Be a master of my passions. Don't be a slave to my passions. That's essentially what Stoic philosophy is. And so the act of aspiring to do that and developing those habits fundamentally changes you. Once you turn the boy into a soldier, right? He is the soldier. It's not like the boy is the true self and the soldier is just some shtick. He becomes that person. And I'm saying that this is true for lots of things. Like, um, eventually, like we go from being, it's not even a soldier. That's kind of a romantic idea, this hero, right? So some people become the bitter, uh, like, wagey, stuck in an office job, and then they
Yeah, I would
just
say
die.
that's not their
And
real. That's a false
I,
self that they've
I would
acquired.
say people can become that. I would say, we are the decisions we make long term, right? In the short term, like we feel like, oh, in this person I saw in this moment, that's the real person. I take more of a long term view of things. There are definitely specific interactions that are real or fake. I'm not saying that there aren't those things, but um,
It is a
who
little
we
sneaky,
are,
Ricardo.
right? It's like if someone is overweight, right, that says something about their long-term dietary choices in most circumstances, right? And so it says a lot about their self-control, what their priorities are, um, and so it is with a lot of other things about people's appearance or just anything that's a clue, right? An appearance is a type of clue, but anything you might consider a clue.
Yeah, but I'm
And
I'm
so
interested. I associate true self as what's beneath or beyond the appearance. So appearances to me are not necessarily the final guide to somebody's true self. TML, take it away.
Well, ultimately, there's three levels, is there not? Because there's the actual um, dialogue that you're having between yourself and society, which is your I guess your persona, and then there's the actual awareness of the persona, and then there's sincerity behind there. Like I had this one saying, I said, how much sincerity can you have while wearing a mask? So the mask is one level, the awareness of the mask is the other level, and then the sincerity that's behind the mask, that's actually getting to the person. As I like to say, sincerity is the jewel of the heart. All right. So really, sincerity is the person, without the persona. When they perform a task, how sincere are they, in performing that task? That's the measure of what's behind the person, that's performing the task. You know what I mean, right? So, in that way, I think that sincerity, or we don't have a measure for sincerity, obviously, because we can't know what's in people's hearts.
Right.
But I think that that is the ultimate. That what's behind the person that's performing the action.
I think Angeline just said something neat in the chat here. There is also maturity in not letting our feelings or emotions control us, but having the ability to parent ourselves. And I think that's actually the parent is the key word there. So if you think about like a child who's having a in a bad mood, maybe they're crying about something, the parent comes in and tells them, "Hey, it's going to be okay." They reassure them, they try to calm them down. When we grow up, we have to do that to ourselves. We see something we don't like, we have an internal upset reaction to it, and then we say, and then we have to tell ourselves it's going to be okay. So this thing that we call masking, to what extent is it just instances of me saying, "Oh, it's going to be okay. I don't need to worry about this," or is it me saying to myself, maybe like something seems good, I'm like, "Do I know that this is necessarily a good thing? Let's sit and wait more," right? It's sort of like just when you were told to keep an open mind to whether or not something is good or bad, but ultimately whether or not it's final. Um,
Well, we're
you
back
know,
to that thing where we're talking about the actions one might take as a result of an emotion, not the initial spontaneous emotional reaction itself, which is
but
all I'm
but why do I
addressing.
take those actions, Jeff? Right? Because at some point in the past, I felt something that made me want to become that kind of person.
But it's a different category than when I'm talking about masking an emotion, I'm talking about the emotion itself. It's separate or independent from what action you might take as a result of it, like being prompted by it. And and what Angeline said, letting our emotions control us, but having the ability to parent ourselves. Yeah, that's all well and good, but I'm talking about the emotion itself, not the parenting you do to control what action you take as a result of the emotion. I'm just talking about having the initial emotion itself, whatever happens afterwards. And you seem to see value in masking or shielding that emotion from the world, and I see value in exposing it to the world and letting the world know this is my emotion, this is the level of reaction I'm having, this is all the data, I'm giving it all to you up front. It's not saying a single thing about any action I might take as a result.
Yeah, and I think the reason the actions are a big thing here is, again, go back to Stoic philosophy. It's a philosophy of action. It's not a philosophy of ideas. It's not just an armchair thing. Um, it's always every question a Stoic asks comes back to what can I do? And so, that's why, and I gravitate toward. And again, if we talk about feelings, I ultimately go toward it because um, one thing I am feeling is that if I am being proactive, I feel better about myself. And so it is still indicating something about how I feel. It's just not this very obvious like happy, sad, angry, fearful type of, it's not like distinct colors on a color wheel type of emotion, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting how like how like like you could hear something from somebody close to you and it
Mhm.
sounds different than when somebody says it to you online, right? But still, if you hear a video of that person saying that same thing and they're not saying it to you like on a panel, right? And you might still get triggered by just hearing it. You know what I mean, right? So it's
Yeah.
like they don't have to say it to you to trigger you. You find that out that, oh, I'm actually just triggered by the thought. I'm not triggered by somebody saying this to me or people noticing it about me. You know what I mean, right? So that's very interesting where you figured that out. And I like to relate it to this idea that style is actually, and style and composure are actually how you are when nobody's watching you. You know what I mean? Right. How you acted then. I mean, right? Like what you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? Right. And people that can acknowledge your silence. I mean, right. When you just have nothing to say, and and they actually see that as just as legitimate as a of a piece of communication as when you do say something. I mean,
I'm thinking about that, particularly in relation to Joe. Because I don't feel like I feel like if y'all had little cameras around my house and y'all got to see me off stream, I would not appear that different. Y'all would be like, "Oh yeah, that's Jeff. That's the same way he is on stream." But Joe, I'm like, I feel that about Joe too. I feel like when Joe's by himself in his house, he's probably sitting quietly and reading or playing a game. He's not having a lot of emotional expression, just like on
Mhm.
stream. I don't think he
It's
would be
true.
that different either.
Yeah, like when I was playing Call of Duty, um, and there'd be like this has been recent, and like someone kills me, and I'll be like, oh, well played, right? Now I know that 20-year-old Joe would have been like, that's some fucking bullshit right there.
That's the Joe
Um,
we want to see.
well, I know that's appealing to you, but um, you got to think there's a reason I don't do
That's
that,
the
right?
Joe I trust more.
I looked at how I was, and my tendency to do that made me unhappy with um, not just where I was in life, but how I was treating people, because that the kind of the side of me that would catastrophize and demean people and things like that, which is definitely more my emotional side in some ways, was all the bad stuff I learned from my mother. Like everything that is bad about my mother, everything that made my relationship the non-starter that it became, was that stuff. So I said, if you don't like being tyrannized by her, does it really make sense for you to be a tyrant to other people in the same style she was? No, it doesn't. And so you have to become who you want to be. You have to choose the kind of person that you want to be, right? And that was an emotion, Jeff, right? And it was something I really felt, and it continues to inform the way I act today. And it's not like it was this. There's the masking where you're just trying to placate people to avoid conflict as long as possible, and there's there's something inauthentic to that. I will agree, right? But to me, it was not like a social pressure thing. Oh, I need to fit in better, or I'm afraid of controversy. I looked at who I was, at my character, um,
Do you
and
consider that tyrannize, like playing a video game and saying, "Oh God damn fucking shit"? Do you consider that tyranny over somebody?
Um, no, but I do see that it's just not unnecessary to make myself angry. Like some of it is just my own judgment. I'm angry because
But
I've decided I'm going to be angry.
the anger is spontaneous. You're not making yourself angry. That is your natural
Yeah.
reaction. That's just
Yeah.
occurring.
To the
And
point to the
hey,
point
how
that
you
I get
doing?
angry at things these days, it's mostly things that are inanimate. So, not people or things that I do. So angry at myself. So if I miss a turn, so if you put a camera in my car and I forgot it was there, and then you see me like miss a turn or something, you can see me explode for like 30 seconds.
That's okay.
Um,
That sounds normal.
all right. And again, it's in the silence of my car. Like I don't think it'd be very easy to hear me shout outside of my car, especially if we're still moving. And so there's, you
But if
know,
there was another person in the car, you would hold that
if there
in,
was a passenger in the car, I'd be like, "Oh, we missed the turn," and
and they
I'd
would
be,
never know that how with the level of anger that you
I would.
have going on
Well,
in you.
one is that I might not feel as angry about it because I might feel better because I have company in the car, right? Um, so that's also a factor, right? And so then I'm just spoiling what I think might be a pleasant mood by getting angry over it. Um,
And that would be a
now,
tyranny.
but I will say there have been times where I have gotten better. I get less angry in the car even now than I did in the past. So the 30-second flip out might have been a 2-minute flip out, right?
Yeah.
And so there are things like I have through habit adoption. It's like, especially since I became self-employed and I'm never really in a rush to be places because I can always ensure that I can leave early and give myself like a 10 to 20-minute buffer of time. And so if there's ever a delay, I miss a light, and I start to get annoyed, I just think, Joe, you took control of your life. You have enough time that you don't have to worry about being late. You're not like the other drivers who are not in control of their time management that way. Don't freak out. And then I calm down.
Well,
Um,
let's hear from Ray Charles here.
So
Hank.
so here's the thing. I feel I'm more emotional off camera than on camera, but I acknowledge that the road's a stage already. So I may be mistaken.
Do you consciously, like knowing that you consciously play up
I
one aspect or the other at any given time?
absolutely.
Damn. Well, how do we know when we can trust? How do we know what the real Hank is?
There is no real Hank. It's that simple.
Well, what am I trusting when I trust you? What am I?
A simulacrum.
See, this is I think I trust TML more than anybody on this panel right now because I know with TML I'm getting whoever he is in that moment. I know that he's not faking, he's not hiding, he's just
I can
giving you
barely see any of
himself.
his actual face. He's hiding behind so much hair and sunglasses.
Well, he has a Muppet persona, but
Okay.
psychologically, I know whatever's happening with TML at the moment is the real TML.
I will
I
And
say
that
this,
don't.
makes me
Jeff.
trust him more than anybody else that either there's no real self or it's being masked. I just
I
Yeah,
trust
haven't
authenticity
cut
or
my hair.
sincerity, like he says.
Um, yeah, I really haven't cut my hair or my beard in like 3 years.
Wow.
So that is
bullshit.
really
You
what.
shaved your mustache last year.
Oh yeah. I shaved this part of it off.
Mustache
He
isn't a beard. Your argument is invalid.
he said beard or mustache.
Oh,
He
okay.
did shave his mustache. Um, of everyone here, I trust TML the least because he's enough times smarter than me that he could deceive me.
So you don't- but you so you think he could use that intellect. So you never know when he's deceiving you or not because of his intellect.
I can figure it out, but he's enough times smarter than me that he could successfully deceive me. So I
I
have to
don't know.
acknowledge
I've
that.
just and maybe he's so good at deceiving I never noticed. I've just never known him to have the motivation to deceive. He's usually trying to educate.
Yes,
well,
I'm
I've
just
talked
saying
to.
if he wanted to, he could probably deceive me.
Well, I think with the exception of Joe, I've talked to you guys off camera, and so there's little to guess about that, But yeah, the thing is that, and I think I've known you guys for a better part of a year, I think. But
Yeah.
No, longer than that. You were my
yeah,
first panel in the panel
yeah,
verse.
exactly. So it's been a while,
You were my
So other,
gateway.
so except for Joe, but I like this idea that we're a character in another person's dream. As in the dream of Vishnu. So I really like that concept that, because when I appear in a dream, I'm indeed playing many different roles and characters, so I think that's another way to look at it is, not just because somebody reminded me of that, especially Hank, because he was saying that all the world's a stage and it's kind of like a dream. It's like this something's fishy and it's all kind of rigged, and even your persona and even the people, you'll be talking to one person and they'll change like into three different people like over the course of the dream. So it's like personalities are very fluid in the dream world.
And in life, depending on who they're if you're talking with them by themselves and then another person shows up, they can turn like another aspect of them will come out, etc. So there's that fluidity even in life.
Yeah, Jeff. One thing I will say is that there's been nothing untruthful about me on your panels, right? So there's no false information. It's just how how um how much pressure is in the hose at any given moment, right? Is it full blast or is it a trickle, right? And that's the thing. Obviously, you don't like the trickle as much, but it's not. It's all water, I assure you.
Only mostly water.
Mm.
Oh, Chuck, let me check on that. Um, oh yeah, it's turned down. I don't know why. It I trust emotion. I trust people that have natural human emotions and people like appearance here. Everybody's robot. Like nobody shows any kind of emotion. There's no warmth. There's nothing that comes out of people, and I don't trust that. They may be completely trustworthy, but subjectively, it does not register as trustworthy to me. So I don't feel like I'm getting the real Joe. I feel like Joe is holding himself back
But
because
also, like,
himself is the Joe that I saw on panel the other night.
but why would I be like that all the time, right? Like, do you really is it really reasonable to think
Why
that
would
I
you
would
not?
actually? Well, one, do I actually feel that way all the time? Do I actually like are my emotions always as maybe at a certain level where they're just going to start
But
coming
that's just
out,
it. I don't know.
right?
Like I
Right?
don't know when you're feeling that way and when you're not. Are you saying every time you feel that way that we can trust that you're going to show it like you did
Well,
the other
I
night?
will say one thing is that I will do that on panels where I think the focus of the conversation that day is chummier and such, and so it feels just easier to kind of just joke around and stuff, and then if I'm in the mood for that too, I'll do that. Um, so it kind of just depends on like who's
Yeah, it's
there,
not
what's the
consistent. I don't
topic
know
that
when.
day,
It's not
and
consistent enough for me to know
it's the
when.
same as like everywhere I go. Like I'm not gonna feel like being chummy or chatty everywhere I go in the same way because it depends on who's there, what are we doing, um, what are we talking about, what do I think of that person?
Well, one thing I talk about a lot is externalization of the ego. Because I talk about mediation. So you know how I guess McLuhan says, like the medium is a message. So actually, the medium you use to communicate changes how you communicate, right? So maybe text message Joe is different from StreamYard Joe, is different from Facebook Joe, is different from, DM Joe, is different from email Joe, because the actual translation through the medium adds a layer to how we communicate. That's not just superficial. It actually melds with our actual persona, at its core level. Once we do it enough, once we communicate through this medium enough, and I don't mean to borrow Joe's name. You could use Mo, or right.
Or Mo.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Email Hank scares the pants out of King Stephen and Pussy Paul. So
Oh, Zence. We'll get that. I guess that's my whole point. That's what I'm going for. And when people show up and are like, sometimes I can be myself, and sometimes I can't, or I'm not in the mood to, or I don't feel like I can, then I'm like, oh, okay, then I'm not, it's not fully doing what I'm designing it to do. Because I would like people to feel like they can come here and always be themselves.
Jeff, you have the same problem that my ex-girlfriend had, which is once she saw the more passionate side of me, she wanted me to be like that all the fucking time, and it was a crisis every time I
No,
wasn't at the time.
only if that's who you are. Like I don't want you to be it on the moments that you're not that, because I don't think you're that way all the time. But it does leave it in question which times are you that way and which times are you not, because you have the ability to hide it or turn it off even if
Mhm.
you're, so we don't always get, I feel like you're that way more times than not, and sometimes we just don't get that. You withhold it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't think that
sometimes I
was the
do.
only time in your life I've ever seen you be that way. I mean,
No.
that's the only time I've seen you, but I don't think that's
What was
the only
the
time you ever were that way.
what was the topic when Joe got passionate? If you guys don't mind me asking,
I don't even, was it immigration? I don't even remember.
because that might be the key to his, the
It was
deeper
like a
level.
very it was like not a very it was
It's
one
like
of his fireside
politics
chat
or,
ones.
yeah, it
It
was
was a
one
oh,
of
I
very
the,
know.
light
It was National
conversation.
Socialists. Yes, I remember.
oh, he,
Oh, okay.
that's what brought it out of him,
Oh, I
Yes, absolutely.
remember
Yeah,
in
that'll
the
like
make
the
me
well in
good
the
German that he is.
yeah.
Hey, Neuro, what's going on?
What's
Hey,
up?
Nero. We're,
Did
we're,
I make it in time for autistic happy hour?
I think you're
Absolutely.
right in the middle of it. Grab a cocktail. We got another hour to go.
Perfect. No, I did want to come on and say hello and join the conversation, but I wanted to promote an idea I had that they're going to have a debate tonight, and I was either myself or if somebody else wants to host a watch party, I would be kind of interested to hear like at least like the first hour of that
Yeah, me
debate
and
or
Hank,
something
me
because
and
I think
Hank will easily host it. Yep.
What
Absolutely.
time
We've
and what
been
channel?
following it.
I don't know what time, but I would just be interested to kind of get like people's real time opinion on that. I think it'd be kind of
Oh,
fun.
yes. I'm
But
totally
yeah,
gonna watch it. So yes, so
we
I'll
could do it
be.
in the Discord too.
Yeah, let's set up a stream on Hank's channel, and we'll go over there, and I'll be there. Send me the link, Hank.
Oh yeah, let's set it up.
Do
Yeah, I'll
you
put
have
it.
an idea about what time
It's
Let me put
nine
it.
30
nine
and
thirty.
whose channel is it going to be on?
EST.
It's raging.
Or like what? Who's the debate?
Tomato, I
What's it
think, or
between?
tomato.
Raging
So I
Tomato. What's the other one? David Patrick Harry and Jim Bob and
Oh, I like
yeah.
David Patrick. It's
Yeah,
going
me
to be
too.
on Tomato's channel.
Most
I'm not
notably,
sure.
Flow State will be in the debate. So.
Yeah.
Yes, Flow State and Dallas Engineer will be in the debate against made by Jim Bob and David Patrick Harry. I know it's gonna be restreamed on Jim Bob's channel. I don't know what the host channel is though.
Yeah, just post it in the Discord or send it to me, and we
Ra-
can set up a watch party.
Yeah, it's Raging Tomato and is the host. And yeah, I'll send it to you guys. And but yeah, I just think it'd be fun because we've all had experiences with all these people, and it'd be kind of interesting to see how that actually goes. But yeah, I saw the name of your stream and it said what it said high trust. What was
Yeah,
it?
high trust communities versus low trust communities where there's a lot of trust between the members look different than communities where members are suspicious of each other and always in competition.
Sounds like neoliberalism.
Yes, it does.
So Jeff, is some of the issue maybe that like if you're successfully or doing all the right things to make this a high trust community, you would want people to be more expressly emotional than otherwise?
Only if that's I don't want them to fake emotion, but
Mhm.
if they're having an authentic emotion, I would want them to feel comfortable displaying it or letting us in on it because that's more authentic and sincere than masking it. This is a place where people can come and be themselves. And part of being yourself is being your full emotional self. But if your self is to hide your emotions, I guess that's being yourself too. There's just some inconsistency there because there's sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. And so I don't know in any given moment, are you being yourself or are you masking?
So here's the thing. Just based on Buddhist Taoist philosophy, pretty much there is no self anyways. So it's kind of a moot point. There's no test to see if someone's themselves or not, because even if they're acting as themselves, acting as another character
Yeah,
in the first
yeah,
place.
I've been fixated on that concept too. Yeah, thank you, Hank.
Yeah.
Well, because emotions are so primal and spontaneous, I take it as an index to less acting than not.
Well, my counterexample is Luma Tommy, who claims to be acting even though he seems to have no control over himself.
Well, I think Illumitami is very performative. All right, in all of his ways. It's not just a Snapchat filter that's performative. It's the entire thing. The come to Denver thing. That's hugely performative. All right.
Yes.
So he's an avatar gangster, as they say.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said for playing a character, but there's also something to be said of like why and what substance. And I think the same goes to like community building and such. And I think like for me, you know, neoliberalism or any of these different models, I just use that as an example of like white nationalism, neoliberalism, communism, all these different things. It's like most people don't really have much of a why other than like some general like pragmatic or utilitarian ideal. And I think that's why the debate tonight is interesting, is like, are we doing this for a higher purpose, or are we just doing this just because it suits us, or we want to believe that it suits us at the time? And I think that that's an interesting.
And I keep going back to the gay community because I have experience with this from a very early age. I've seen the difference between people that could like come into a gay space and openly be themselves versus when they have to hide it and mask it. And it's just almost objectively healthier and more authentic and more it adds more to community cohesion when you see them as their full natural self versus the in the closet masking version of that self. So some of that is drawn from my own experience. I have so much experience seeing the difference between the two, and one
I
is
feel like
clearly superior to me to the other as far as community building goes.
Jeff is he's basically going into the YMCA lyrics, like as far as what his creed is, like young men, there's no need to feel down. I said, young men,
Well,
pick
maybe middle
yourself off the
aged.
ground.
Is it?
What is that? A cookie?
Well, young men is an idea, right?
What kind of cookie?
It's an M cookie, letter M for men.
Well, I guess I
Yeah,
meant what
it's M for
ingredients.
math. For mask.
I could think of several
Oh.
things that M could stand for.
I thought it might be a M for meth, as some of our friends like.
Yeah, it's M for for aluminum.
M for it's a blue M too.
Yeah, for blue meth.
M for Mike Cerrone. Damn.
Wow, so many M's are out flying about.
Actually, I think it's Michigan football is the cookie. Actually.
Oh, just it looks like a football cookie.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I thought it looked like a the M that they put on the sweatshirts for Michigan.
Well, I know they have the chocolate bars up there. I thought they might have cookies now too.
All right, we don't need racism, okay, Jeff? I mean don't want to police you
Yes,
on
we
your.
do. We do. We have to meet a minimum.
Well, this is a Nazi rally panel.
Yeah, we have to. We have. What's it called?
We're all
Quotas to meet. We
MAGA
have to meet the minimum
territory.
quota.
MAGA territory.
Strangely, NeuroJack's flags does give me swastika vibes, even though I know it's the BLM trans pride flag with something else on it.
Uh-oh. Somebody needs to report to headquarters. He's figured out the truth that the trans flag was a Nazi plot all along.
Exactly.
How did you find out?
The horseshoe.
No, it's no, I was gonna say it's kind of interesting. Like, okay, let me try to give a counter example to what Jeff is saying. So you're saying that it's generally healthy to be your authentic self. Well, like, let me give an example for the MAGA thing. Like, if the MAGA thing makes white nationalists feel comfortable to go and be quote unquote racist or anti-immigration or something like that, and then the neoliberals get back in power, allegedly that they're not in, assuming that they're not still in power, but assume the neoliberals get back in power and they say, well, we have evidence that all these people are racist, Nazi, whatever, and then that's used against them. Would it still be considered healthy to be your authentic self? And similarly for the gays, like, let's say that right now you're comfortable, but then let's say that Trump brings in this, Christian nationalism, and then they say, well, we don't like gays anymore, and you guys have to go back underground. Like, would it still be considered healthy if now you've exposed that you're gay and now it's going to become
I still think it's healthy to be your authentic self from a mental health perspective. I think, and we looked at that the other day with like masking versus not masking and the amount of energy it takes to mask versus not mask. And Rin was up here talking about the cardboard constructs and how she went through each one and determined which ones were cardboard constructs and which ones were real because she got so tired and exhausted, and she freed up so much energy once she eliminated the false constructs of herself from her life. So from a mental health perspective, I would say yes, even if gays suddenly become under persecution again, it would still be healthy for them to be themselves when and where they can versus not. And I'd say the same about white nationalism. I question how much that's an authentic identity and not an adopted identity. But if at your core being you are authentically a white nationalist, whatever that is, because it seems like something that would be taught and acquired rather than would occur at birth or naturally, then it's probably mentally more healthy for you to be that.
Yeah, let me think about that. Hank, as a white nationalist, how do you feel about what he's saying there?
So here's the thing: politics is bullshit. So it probably doesn't. I don't think it can be part of an authentic self in the first place because it's all based on the pieces on the board.
Well, I think the ideology is rather simple. It's the idea that you establish a national identity, in an economic policy to strengthen labor and industry instead of international trade. Bolshevism was seen as an international movement, and they wanted to prevent that. So they wanted to distinguish themselves from the Bolsheviks, so they called themselves the National Socialists. So in a greater sense, it's a response to the liberalism of the time, you know.
So reactionary. So like basically what you're saying is just it's reactionary, and so something that seems to come up over and over again is like, are you defined by your enemies, or are you self-defined, or something to that effect? Like, is that kind of what you're alluding to in a way? Like maybe that was a weakness that they had. Is like,
I think being your authentic self, part of that is not letting other people define you, enemies or anybody else. So if you're being
Yes.
defined by your enemy, you're probably not being your authentic self in the
Yeah,
first place.
and that's a central concept. It's that Germans need to have German products, and they can't rely on international bankers and international trade and all these types of luxuries to provide that for them. So Germans need to make German culture and keep their wealth within Germany, right? So the best way to do that is to manufacture better German products by creating more factories and labor within Germany, right? So
and,
that was a central theme there. And a lot of people could say that, it did have positive economic effects, that policy,
well, I was watching one of my old videos, and I had the Bach Precision guy, and he said that one of the plans that Germany had intended was to build a railroad from Berlin to Baghdad or something like that, and this is one of the reasons why World War One was initiated, was to prevent such a thing from coming to pass. And I don't know if that's true, but that's an interesting thought. And the other thing was, oh shit, I've lost the point. But there's another like weird economic thing that was. Oh
Yeah,
no,
I think this is Otto von Bismarck you're talking about. He put in all these policies like welfare, and he was going to build the Trans-Siberian Railroad. I think this is what you're referring to, right?
yeah. I mean, that's what Bach said. He said they were going to build it all the way to Baghdad as well, and basically like establish like an international trade between basically the Holy Lands all the way up to Germany. And I guess somebody had a problem with that. And the other thing I heard was like, so this kind of funny. This is kind of funny too, because like we all know that Germany is very whatever it is now. I guess neoliberal or whatever you want to call it. But so there's this funny like news piece that was like a minute long, and I saw it. It said Germany has the highest rate of sick calls into work, and so now they're saying it's affecting the productivity or GDP or whatever of Germany. And it's kind of funny the way they put it together. They were showing like all like immigrants while they're saying this, but they're like, we don't know why all these different. We don't know why this is happening, but we assume it's because of stress and a high work, a high amount of stress among workers in Germany or something like that. And it's just kind of funny to me. Is like Germany is known for its productivity and great products and blah blah blah, and it's just kind of funny. It's like, so what is it about that's happening in Germany that's making people?
Have they asked the workers why they're calling in?
Well, see, that's the thing is like they're turning it into a very political issue. They said something to the effect of like, well, union leaders are saying that it's because the bosses are bad, and the bosses are saying it's because the workers are lazy. And so I guess eventually they're going to say, well, we'll just put robots in, and we don't need the workers anymore. It seems to be like kind of like the
German robots.
So, yeah.
Who's going to make the robots?
So
without the humans, who will make the robots? Go ahead, Nick.
So my issue is that there is self is undefined without the context of a society. It's just not defined. So the self not influence society is it's a nothing. There's nothing to talk about yet.
Did you have a self before you, like when you were younger, before you started interacting with other people, or?
Not that I know of.
It's a good question. I mean, I think we're all born with a self, like the core, the beginning of, like, there's something that's
Yeah, I
unique
mean,
to
if you
us,
look
and then I
at
think it gets modified through interaction
that-
with
Yeah,
others.
if you look at like 8-month-year-old babies, like compare them, it's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, like
Like they
no two
have different,
babies are alike. I've seen
yeah,
plenty of babies growing up. I was
like
the
they
oldest.
act different, like they respond to different
Yeah,
stimulus, like they even get pissed off and happy at different things. So it's interesting.
and then that gets modified as they interact with their
yes,
social environment.
but that's kind of unrelated. Pretty much the self is based on the this Platonic metaphysics, where we assume people have indestructible souls, but there's no evidence of that.
Or the Aristotelian immanent form.
Yeah, but we don't really have any evidence of that. In fact, we have evidence against
But
that,
is, is
like
there
Phineas Gage.
is there a significant difference between those two, the Platonic and the Aristotelian?
Oh yeah. Well, one is transcendent and one is immanent.
What does
Um,
eminent mean exactly in that context?
it's embedded within the form itself. So a horse has a particular form. In Plato, there's an archetypal horse that exists independently of the physical world. It's a metaphysical ideal. And all physical horses are horses because they participate in or partake of this metaphysical ideal
So
form. In
horse-
Aristotle, the form is part of the horse. It comes into being when the horse does, and it disappears when the horse dies. And it's part of the structure of the horse itself. It's immanent in the horse.
Interesting. And what were you saying the negative of that is, Hank? The Phineas who?
Phineas Gage, where his personality completely changed after he got impaled by a railroad spike. So that's evidence against and inherent personality.
Well, it's evidence that we're physical beings. If you change the brain or damage parts of the brain, it could change the personality.
Yeah, so how does the soul connect to the brain then?
I don't believe in a soul, so I don't.
Yeah.
Essence energy distinction comes up again.
Yeah, I think soul and brain are totally made up, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I
I believe in
agree.
brains, but not
Well,
souls.
well, what exactly is a brain? Because I guess your heart and your gut have their own set of neurons as well, right? So, and I think the heart has more neurons, right, per capita or some shit like that. So yeah,
Brain's the pink stuff in the head.
Yeah, it's the organ, however you want to call it, brain, nervous system, body. It's the physical, it's the organic
mind, I
matter that we're
guess,
made
you know,
of.
is what you're talking
I don't
about.
think there's a metaphysical entity independent of that continues after the physical stuff decomposes.
Yeah, I believe in brains. I ate brains before.
So what about you, Mich- Do you think that so you don't think there's like an essence of humans that exists throughout time after death, or that's a possibility?
Show it to me.
Are we just gonna skip over the fact that Hank said he ate 8 brains?
Well, I was thinking
What kind of brains?
he needs to eat more. It's
I didn't hear
you're, I see a lot of progress, but eat more brains.
What
You're
kind of
getting there.
brains was it, Hank? What type of
Fish.
animal? Oh, fish.
Fish.
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah. Did it taste good?
Yes.
Okay.
They used to eat cow brains growing up. So gross. It stank up the whole house when they cooked them.
But yeah, if there was an essence, go ahead and show it to me.
Well, I also want to mention this guy named Seabrook. I can't remember his first name, but he wrote extensively on cannibalism and voodoo and stuff like that. And friend of Aleister Crowley and kind of interesting guy. But I just want to mention that name because if you guys never heard of him, he's an interesting feller. But
No,
My-
I'm thinking of Seabiscuit. I get them confused.
oh my god.
Speaking of
you're-
horses.
But machine. So, would you say that in general that the idea of a soul or something, that an essence of a person continuing on after quote unquote death is something that you just think that is impossible, or something that you just think is unlikely, or I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Well, I don't think that physical. Like, I don't think that physics is a replacement for mind. I think that there's minds, right? And I don't think that matter can be tied to that principle. right? That
Okay, I see what
safely, right?
So,
Right. So I
so
think, yeah.
go
So I
ahead.
think like with mind, like there's no reason to add something on top of mind called soul, right? So I just think that that's unnecessary, an unnecessary move. So I just say, well, mind is more real than matter, and that's what persists after death, right?
So you're saying it's just
The
an
mind.
you're saying that's like an overcomplication of the
Yeah,
situation. Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of I'm kind of sympathetic to that, just because
yeah, yeah. And I
that's
think what
where
they call spirit or soul is actually just the actions you perform. So I think it's activity, right? I mean, so yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. So what you're saying is like the mind is like potentiality, and then the soul is kind of like what you make of the potentiality.
Exactly, right.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and that seems like a relatively like
Yeah, that's a relatively classical understanding of the situation as well. They didn't come up with anything new. They were just that just seems to be what they were saying.
right. And I think, and again, like to me, that makes kind of a like it makes Christianity a much more understanding. And there seems to be some debate about is that a Sumerian concept or a Zoroastrian concept or Hindu concept or
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely in Zoroastrianism and Hinduism. They
right.
got it
Joe, are you
all there.
holding anything in or back?
Oh, I kind of tuned out for a moment there because I was looking at the Wikipedia article for Phineas Gage because Hank brought it up. So
Oh.
yeah,
Yes, and yeah, that I am going to host that the restream party. I will post on the discords.
Yeah,
For sure.
please send us a copy so we can spread it about and get you some numbers.
Are you
Uh,
still on Discord?
Yeah, it'll be a good excuse for
yeah,
me to leave the submarine.
Yeah. So I posted it on a bunch of Discord that you all members of, including Outliers in Exile. So you should be able to find the YouTube, and I had the panel link posted already from my YouTube page. In fact, you can just copy and paste the private chat.
but yeah, I don't want to. I don't know where you guys were when I joined, but if you don't
We
mind,
have half an hour left. We can go anywhere.
Jeff, would you look up the guy named Seabrook and cannibalism, if you don't mind? Because Jeff was talking about.
What are you setting me up
let's go.
for?
Let's go in that direction. It's like, all right.
Well, Hank's talking about brain eating, and I was like, reminded me of this lovely young feller that I've never heard of, but apparently he's actually pretty influential, which I thought was kind of
William
interesting.
Seabrook, American occultist explorer, world travel journalist, and author.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. That guy is like, I only read a little bit of his biography, but it was like, wow, I can't believe I never heard of this. Do you mind just reading like the basic like what do you call it, the synopsis of his life or whatever?
I'm on the Wikipedia article. It's pretty long. Maybe I can get ChatGPT to give me a paragraph summary. But I don't want to read about cannibalism and brain eating. It looks like he went to Haiti to study voodoo. Now, why do I have
I
to
know
do
how.
this?
I
I know.
don't know. NeuroJack is too lazy to do his own homework, apparently.
Well,
He's
I
probably
know
on
how.
his phone.
I know I am on my phone. I know how big of a fan that Jeff is of voodoo. So that.
Known for his adventurous life and writings that explored the macabre, the occult, and exotic culture. He gained fame with works like The Magic Island, which introduced the concept of zombies to Western audiences. Drawing on his travels in Haiti and experience with voodoo rituals, his life was marked by a fascination with the taboo and unusual. He lived among the Bedouins, experimented with cannibalism, and mingled with surrealist artists and writers. Despite his literary success, he struggled with alcoholism and mental health issues, spending time in an asylum, which he detailed in his memoir, Asylum. His life ended tragically by suicide, leaving behind a legacy as controversial and enigmatic a figure in 20th century literature. I could barely get through that. There. Now, why did you? What is his relevance?
He basically invented the concept of cannibalism and brain eating. All that
Well, I'm
stuff.
sure he didn't invent it. I think humans
I mean,
were doing that
popularized
for.
popularized it to the West, I guess. I
Oh.
think he was friends with Aleister Crowley and some of those lovely young fellers. So
Well, and what? Why are you bringing this up? Other than Hank eating brains?
well, and you like voodoo, and I don't know. I just thought it's interesting that I've never heard this guy. I've never heard of this guy, but he was pretty.
Oh, well,
Well, I mean,
neither
for
did
me,
we until today.
for me, like I
Thank
like
you.
almost everyone I know is like into zombie movies, including myself, and so I just thought it's interesting. I've never.
I hate zombie. I hate zombie. They're so boring. What a boring monster.
What?
Zombies?
Yeah, I just think it's the most realistic monster. Yeah, I mean, look outside. You
Dead
got
people coming back to life?
well,
Like Jesus?
what is life? Jesus,
What am
oh,
I going to see if I look outside?
zombies.
You mean, okay.
I mean, you think
Come
that's
on.
the most
I
realistic
did,
monster?
what is it, Army
I
of
have a whole bunch
Darkness?
of
I
animals to
watched
show
Army
you.
of Darkness. That was okay.
I mean, I could show you a gator or a dog or an elephant. They're
Yeah, I
more
like
realistic than
alligators way
zombies.
more than zombie. Give me a good alligator monster movie.
And yeah, Caucasian Sasquatch was gonna do one called
Oh, well then, see.
yeah, what was it
How about
called?
a gay? How about a
Crack
gay?
gator.
How about a gay alligator?
Didn't they have
Sure.
that gay zombie movie on HBO or something recently?
Maybe on Cinemax.
I don't know. I don't watch. Wouldn't even know. I don't watch zombie movies.
But Jeff,
Bruce
so
Campbell. That's who it was.
that's a good movie. I mean, that's a good actor. Andrew Wilson knows him. He calls him all the time, apparently. Yeah, I was asking Jeff. So, do you think that MAGA is going to be the ushering in of a new high trust society in America?
You say MAGA?
Yeah.
I I trust MAGA. I tend to trust MAGA. Maybe if MAGA becomes a trusted brand.
I'm gonna say absolutely not, because that's the thing about he was president and people voted for someone else after the first term.
And then they voted for it back.
Yes, after the Democratic Party picked someone wooden and wet behind the ears and a boomer. So
I think it's up to MAGA. I think this is their moment. Can they win the trust of the public or not? They were handed the opportunity. We'll see what they do with it.
yeah.
And also, what is MAGA anymore? Because it has a specific meaning, and now it has a more generalized meaning. Like pretty much anybody that voted for Trump.
It does Trump support right now because I don't think he's gonna make America great again. He has a good chance since he's gonna have Alex Jones as a press secretary, but ultimately he'll cave into his own nature and try to.
I mean, I will tell you that for me, the olive branch is out. I am trying to build trust. Just in general, but also as a MAGA. I'm trying to build trust as a Satanist, an autistic person, a Cajun, now a MAGA. So I have all these identities, but they're all part of me, and I'm trying to build trust with anybody I can around any of those identities. So as a MAGA, somebody that now finds himself in that category, I'm trying to build trust for that group.
Do you think you can win over the Antifa? I mean, the other people?
No. I don't expect to win over Antifa, just like I didn't expect to win over the Christians when I was gay. But I guess the moderate, the middle, not the extreme left. I don't that's not my target audience. I mean, if they want to attempt to build trust with me, fine, but I don't have much hope. I try to be more like a little more strategic and targeted with who I think my best chances of building trust with are. But we've had people on this channel from the left, and it seems like some of them still trust me more or less.
Yeah, I disassociate my so-called identities because I'm more of a goal-oriented rather than a team-oriented guy.
And teams are my goal. My goal is teams.
Whoa. No, that blew my mind.
What do you mean?
Like just in general, like the concept that your goal is teams.
Yeah,
That's
well, my
deep.
goal is to build communities. Is something beyond just myself. My goal involves other people than just me, and building something that's greater than any one person in it that everybody can benefit from. So I have to build trust with whoever I can to do that, and hopefully the hopefully the MAGA thing will not interfere with that. Hopefully people can build trust
Yeah, and
despite the MAGA or
Well, now that the election's over, like, we don't have to talk about it nearly as much because it's going to be what's in place for 4 years now, right?
but we have to talk about it
yeah.
on a social level because there are people now that are questioning how much of the American public they can trust because of the election. And so those of us that did support Trump, this is our chance to show the people that are currently mistrusting us that we can be trusted. Like I said, it's an opportunity.
Well, that's the thing is that on the one end, you could take an idea like the MAGA thing, and it's like, on the one end, it's a group, and on the other end, it's an ideology. And the ideology can be used to persuade people, but also, there's many people using the ideology, but there's other people that are part of the group, and you can identify who those people are. That's why I think it's funny that you said the goals are the teams, because usually people associate teams with the processes, not the end of the process, right? For so to speak.
It's kind of both. Like the more you build the team, the more uh, none of them are exclusive. The team. That's what Joe and I are trying to do. We're trying to put together a team that people can bring individual goals to, that the team helps them achieve, and as they achieve their goals, the team gets stronger, etc. So it's like a mutual feedback loop. Zance, they're all the same thing to me. I use the word team because that's what the person I was responding to used. I'm talking about any group of people beyond just the individual. Whether you call it a team, a community, a group, a society. Some people call it a cult.
Woo, Colts.
I'm just saying my goal is to build trust with other people to form a socially cohesive group that transcends the individual.
Yeah. Have you guys seen propaganda by Edward Bernays?
Yeah, that was the guy that
Yes.
Yeah, like in the beginning, he
invented or
talks about a lot.
popularized propaganda.
Yeah, like in the beginning of the book, he talks a lot about like these little groups, and he's saying that these groups have like sort of figured out how to build networks between themselves,
Yeah.
so that they can supersede like the democratic process, pretty much. Right? So he's like describing how this is possible that they could communicate with each other on the basis of, sort of, informing, others and themselves, and then also controlling the amount of information that others receive by filtering it through these groups. So, yeah, it's fascinating what he talks about in the beginning of that book, about the,
That's
like how like there's groups and teams can actually, you know, take over the democracy, steer democracy.
I think part of that is the democratic process, but except for the gatekeeping of information, I think that's a little anti-liberal because liberalism and democracy depends on that free flow and free exchange of information. So if you have groups that are trying to micromanage that, I think you're veering away from democracy into something more authoritarian.
But they're just trying to regulate the information by just sorting out the bad information from the good information in their opinion. So it's still effectively liberal.
And I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to
Actually, yeah, actually,
like
it's like
get more
it,
information flowing. I'm trying to unleash
right,
information and have it
right,
come
and
out and
that's
get added to the pot.
yeah,
So it's just gonna be more noise.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Bernays says too, that actually this is a consequence of living in a free society, that there's going to have to be filtering mechanisms. And actually, I think he's almost parroting the Federalist Papers in this way, because he's saying that, if you just let freedom reign, then there's going to be the tyranny of the majority. And the tyranny of the majority is a lot fiercer than like the tyranny of like just one guy.
Well, I use the tools of reason and logic to do my filtering mostly. And like then community trust is another way I use it. If there's somebody I trust, their judgment on things might help me to filter information as well. But mostly I rely on my own sense of logic.
TI,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I trust. I thought I could trust consensus unless I could prove that they're wrong. So
I try to combine the senses are a starting point, and then I try to filter it through logic and sense making.
yeah, there's a difference between us. I'm ENTJ and you're ENTP, so we do things kind of different. Or it could be INTJ. Jury's still out. But I'm gonna go with my last test, like I usually do.
You're probably on the cusp.
I am definitely on the
An
cusp.
X and TJ.
Yes, I'm definitely on the cusp. That's for sure. But yeah, I got the watch party planned. I got the StreamYard link in the private chat.
Do you have it set for any particular time, or y'all are still
So,
working it out?
oh, so they're starting at 9:15 Eastern time, I think.
Okay.
So I'll start 5 minutes earlier than that.
And that's on Sarah?
Yes.
But you're going to be streaming it on yours?
Yes, I'm going to
Okay.
host it. I'm going to restream Sarah's.
Okay. And then some of us can watch it in the Discord if we want.
Yes.
Well, that sounds good. Well, we have about 15 minutes. Does anybody want to throw out a brief topic or close with any final thoughts? We went from masking to Nazis to brain eating to team building to propaganda.
Whoa. Who left? Oh, Hank Rage quit.
Hank. Yeah.
Haha, I win, Hank. What do you think of that? No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. It was pretty good. I mean, I have more stuff to cover, but not in 15 minutes, really. But yeah, I think this is what we should be thinking about: is how to build a high trust society.
Yeah, do you have any ideas other than what I already threw out today?
Not any nice ones.
The biggest problem is figuring out when what is authentic trust, but what is the appearance of trust? How to test trust to make sure it's actual trust. And that's hard to do just from online and YouTube and seeing people on panels.
Definitely, people have to go back into the real world. That's for sure. I mean, there's just no way around it.
So we'll never know if we can ever trust each other.
Not
Angeline, I sometimes do these little evening streams, these fireside chats from my phone. But tonight, because of this debate, I might just do the watch party instead. But sometimes I'm in the evenings, but every day, 7 days a week, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific time. I'm here for 2 hours reliably every day. So I'll be here tomorrow at the same time for sure. And I keep going back to what Sasquatch said about you don't necessarily have to build trust. You just have to observe and watch people and filter out the ones that you determine you can't trust and continue to invest in the ones you can. But there's not really anything interactive that you have to do or that they have to do on their end.
I asked someone yesterday, I said, do you have any best friends? And they said, no. They said they kind of choose their friends for each of their different reasons. Like for this friend, they'll talk about this subject. For this friend, they'll talk about this subject. But they don't have anyone that they trust with everything. And
Yeah.
I kind of feel similar to that in some ways, I guess. I mean, I definitely have had best friends throughout my life, and it's changed just because of circumstance or people change or grow. But I think in general, like, you know, we all have different aspects to ourselves, and I think, you know, like, I mean, should you just tell everybody like every little thought that comes across your head? Like, if you know what I mean? Like, that's like, where would you draw the line of being your authentic self?
Well,
At
I
some,
think trust is can be it. There's concept of limited trust. You don't have to trust everybody with everything, but you trust them for specific things. So I need to trust people to build the kind of community I'm trying to build, and as long as I can trust them for that, that constitutes trust for me. I don't have to trust them with my deep dark secrets. I don't have to trust them with my bank account information. I just have to trust them to be able to work on a common goal or mission together. And so, like figuring out what you're trusting somebody for and what type of trust you're expecting from them, I guess, is part of the process.
Oh, hey, Mr. P.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. P. And even that is like, and I think what you said, the fact that it's this online medium makes it difficult. If we were all living in the same town and hanging out in person, I think the ability to determine trust, although it would still run into some of the same dangers and pitfalls, I think there would be a more secure way of testing that trust.
well, definitely. I mean, it's again, it comes back to like the whole online dating thing, which is not exactly what we're talking about. But you know, I think that a lot of people feel like, you know, uh, meeting people online is okay for dating, and you know, I look at it as different than what we're talking about to some degree, because finding people that have this level of interest in what we do is very different than finding someone to have a family with or live together with long term. Like, at some point you have to like be around this person and see them in situations to figure out, like, you know, is this person trustworthy in a particular way, right? Like, for you as a gay man, it'd be different than me as a guy trying to, you know, have kids and stuff, right? But in general, like, you need to feel the vibe, as people like to say, right? You need to kind of sense. And I think that, like, it again, it depends on what kind of community you're trying to build. Like, I would definitely prefer if we all did live in the same town and we could kind of suss people out and stuff like that. But that's also like a lot to ask of people. But I think that eventually, like, that is kind of the direction that the internet should head
Yeah.
towards.
Well, my goal is a hybrid community. So eventually, I hope that this does spill over in person. But it right now it's trusting people to show up and participate. It's trusting people to promote the stream. It's trusting people to not try to undermine the streams. Just little things like that. There's like little practical things that I can look at for trust. And really right now I'm still at the growth phase. It's just trusting people to help the stream get more people involved. Really, I think I'm not at any more advanced phase than that right now. Just trusting the interest to continue. And the few people that have made commitments, just trusting them to continue those commitments.
Well, what would your community look like if you were to do a IRL version of what you're trying to do? Or
Well,
like,
we'd have this. We'd have the hub here where people could congregate and the Discord. But then there would be in-person chapters. So like if there's enough people in a certain city, they could have a chapter there. They could meet for in-person events. They could have monthly meetings. They could do social events. They could do like nights out on the town or camping weekends or stuff, whatever that particular group decides to do. But the point is that it would be a way for the people that meet on here to also interact in person with the same people in their region. And there's other groups, there's other online communities that have used that model and done that. But you just have to get to a certain number before that's viable. Oh, Angeline, so you're saying in person you're able to pick up, you get more data and you're able to read people better to know
Well,
who to.
I definitely think that what you said is pretty good, and I would also say that like I definitely think that men need their own spaces and women need their own spaces again. Like I think that that's something that is very underappreciated right now. Like people talk about it, but I don't think that there's a good concrete like discussion of like what that would actually mean. And I think that that's the discussion that needs to be had as far as like men need to be able to like get away, not get away, but like be able to kind of like formulate like what are their goals, and then they can go back home and institute
Yeah, I
that.
think
Right?
men do need their own spaces. That absolutely. I think every group needs its own space to develop that particular identity. I think autistic people need their own spaces. I think gay people need their gay bars. I think women need their spaces. And so I'm trying to provide a certain particular type of space for certain types of men and or people. And I just think I need to grow to the point where it can start spilling over in person.
Hello.
Hey, Busker.
Oh man, I just saw a headline on Redacted saying Trump to deploy military. It's like breaking. It's like Trump deploying
I
military.
don't pay attention to any of that until he's not even in power yet.
I know, that's what I'm.
There's the Trump fantasy wish list, and there's the what Trump's actually going to be able to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be him talking shit. Yeah, he says he's gonna do a lot of things he doesn't do, right? They all do.
Yeah, it's so right. Right now it's just noise.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little anxious to see what he's gonna pull off.
We'll find out pretty soon. I'd say by February we'll have some kind of idea.
Yeah.
What would America look like if you had your choice about it? Like, what would you like to see happen?
I'd like to see all the illegals get the fuck out of Dodge.
Well, I think some of that's going to happen just with this new border czar he appointed or wants to appoint.
Because they did not get vetted and go through the processes that all these immigrants that rightfully should be here because they went through the process. And it is long, but they went through it. And more power to them.
The Indians.
Yeah, whoever, Mexicans, Indians, all of them.
No, the Indians all go through the process. I don't think the Mexicans do because they could just hop over. But yeah.
Well, yeah, now, I mean, especially like this is no border security whatsoever at all. But
Yeah, all they need to do is either honor the existing process or change the process somehow if it's causing this much trouble. But
there is a lot of NGOs that are like doing supply chain lines of like, let's get these people across the border.
Here we go.
I mean, that's an orchestrated like international order to
hey, Mr. P.
push that.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jeff, good to see you.
how's it going?
Y'all are still moving?
Bro, it's been like so much.
Damn, when's your deadline?
The deadline was like 2 days ago.
Oh my god.
Mr. B's comment.
Wow, and y'all are still streaming at the same time.
Well, it's just because
Hey,
when we
Shaq.
take breaks, it's funny. I'm not gonna lie, bro. They came by and they like changed the locks, and we just like still stayed here.
Oh.
Yeah.
How much do you have? Like, when do you think you'll be out? How much do you have left to go?
I mean, this is pretty much the last night. I think. I mean, we're rounding the end. It's just like we're dying
As
on
far
energy.
as I'm concerned, I'm staying until I get all my shit out.
Yeah.
Oh. Y'all were there for 14 years?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we weren't ready. Plus, when you don't move for a long time, you kind of like don't want to do it, you know?
Yeah, that inertia. Are you set up in a new place?
We have a temporary situation
Oh, okay.
right now, but we're trying to get another spot right now. But we'll figure it out.
Well, I hope so. You're staying in the area, right? You still have your job and all your
Yeah, I still have my
roots.
job. I'm actually gonna interview at a different spot. Get back into Highline because I got back into auto sales and I knew somebody that was at the place, so that's why I started. But then it's like a mass market brand, so it's just it's a lot of work for not as great money, you know. Whereas like Highline is like more white glove experience, better income.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the places, like when I first was looking into it, they're like, "Well, you haven't been in car sales for 2 years." I'm like, "Dude, I've done it for like 13. What are you talking about?" You know. But like when you come from a dealership, they're like, "Oh, all right, you already know what you're doing." But there's like when you haven't been doing it for 2 years, a couple of them were a little standoffish. So I had to like go take a job and to try to move myself up, if that makes sense. But
Are
yeah,
there
man.
opportunities for that? I mean, you think you'll find one?
Oh, I have an interview Thursday. I seen their hiring thing and I didn't even apply. I just called the manager. I got his email. I sent him my resume. I left him a voicemail. Sent him an email, and then I called him the next day and he picked up and he was like, "Oh yeah, come in at this time." Like I was like, "I'm getting in this place." Like you know what I mean? I'm a little aggressive when it comes to getting a job.
Some people are impressed by that, especially I guess car sales. That seems
Yeah,
like it would work in your favor.
yeah. And I'm not like I know I get a lot of shit for people calling me like a used car salesman, but like I'm more of a customer experience guy. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like if you come in and you're like, I want to see a Honda Civic, I'll sit you down for like 20 minutes and like talk about, why you considered it, how much research you've done, what you're replacing. You know what I mean? I'm not just like, all right, let me get the Civic. And then, you know what I mean? Like I'm a problem solver. So I want to make sure I take care of you. You get the right car that's actually that you want, that you can afford, that lines up with your financing abilities. You know what I'm saying? So like they don't have a bad experience either not getting approved or trying to afford a payment they can't afford and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
take my
yeah,
time.
buddy. Yeah, buddy. Peace be with you on your travels and your move. Good luck on that. It's good to
I
meet you.
appreciate that,
And
Machine Lies. Thank you.
yeah, be more Busker. It's very good to see you, my friend. I hope I find you in good health, my friend. Blessings to you. And Jeff, thanks for having me on the panel. I gotta run because of sundown
Blessings
here,
to you too.
so I gotta go to the mosque here. But yeah,
Okay,
thank
yeah,
you
thanks
guys
for
for
dropping
having me
by. It
here.
was good to see you.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
for sure. And we're gonna do the stream later with Hank. I'm doing a special on Eastern philosophy, going way deeper than any Alan Watts, mumbo jumbo. Am I right?
You doing that tonight?
Oh, I've been doing it for weeks. Wednesday and Saturday on the regular show. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're on Confucianism right now. So we did the
Here,
last
I'll
few
drop your
episodes.
channel again.
Yeah, we did Confucianism. We did an excellent job on that one. And we did Hinduism with Annapurna there. We did an excellent job covering that as well. So we're going through Confucianism, then Taoism, then Buddhism, and then Zen Buddhism, which combines Taoism and Buddhism. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of stuff. Blessings, guys. Thank you guys for having me.
Yep. See you later,
You
buddy.
too. Take care, TML.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to you soon, Neuro.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see you later on.
Yeah, hit me up before the show here. Blessings.
Yep, we'll do. All right. Cool. Have a nice break.
Hey, B More was talking about Trump's picks. Dude, I think this time around, I think he's got some great people working with him, dude. I don't know about you guys, but
I think he has a better team, like
a
advising
much
him.
better team. Yeah.
Well, what's everybody saying about Matt Gaetz? Because like I've never really paid much attention to him, but everyone's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's a president." I don't know if I believe.
I remember
So
there was some scandal with him and this Nelson guy. Like they said he brought a
yeah,
slave over from. I don't. They all just
he,
all kind of crazy rumors.
he's into underage girls, unfortunately. Whether he's been convicted or not for any sort of like crime or anything, he's been with like underage girls and like trafficked them a little bit, I think, to some extent. I don't want to like allegedly, but then the girl he married is like much younger, you know. So let's see. Okay,
Hey
hold on one
Jeff,
second. Sam's trying to show me something.
Is my computer making
Oh
noises?
yeah, yeah.
No, not currently, not today.
So Matt Gates
Oh,
is definitely a pretty big right wing guy. I think what's her name, Tulsi Gabbard doesn't really like him. She's more of a moderate, and I think thinks he's like, oh no, I'm sorry, not Matt Gates. That's Marco Rubio. Excuse me. But Matt Gates has been like on the Trump train for a while, and you know, I like him. I think he does a good job like calling these people out for some of the bullshit that they're doing, and he's definitely against wokeism. That's for sure. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, a lot of the people he's nominating are planning to go in there and cut the woke stuff out right away.
dude,
Yeah.
RFK being on the health department or the health, you know, heading the health, dude, that's a huge deal, bro. That's been like his whole career.
As long as he doesn't take my McDonald's fries.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't take my benzos away, I mean, shit.
Whoa! What are you guys talking about? McDonald's fries and benzos? What's happening?
Lot of them talking about
This is like American treats there. No, but he you know, he's not with these pharmaceutical companies, not treating like that. Even Jordan Peterson too, man. They're just like, these people are just making us sick, you know, and they don't care about health.
Yeah, but
And
I think I don't want the nanny state determine. I don't want a bunch of Karens telling me what I could eat or not. I think people have the right to put chemicals in their body.
but why are you saying that? Are they saying something to that extent?
I don't
No,
know. Some people
what
are. Yeah, he's
the
gonna.
whole thing, what he's trying to say is that these companies are putting shit in food that they should not be putting in the food, and that is commendable if he gets rid of that.
Well,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
definitely there's definitely like a lot. I mean, people have no idea the level of poison that's been put into everything. But
That's
I-
right.
like, the thing is, like, I mean, I'm honestly like, I like the signaling of Trump and all these people and RFK Jr. I don't have much faith that they're going to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Not because they don't
That's
want,
fair.
but JFK the original, you know, there seems to be a narrative that he was you know, something bad happened to him because he said the truth and was trying to do something good. And I just think that
And he pushed against the establishment.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and again, like, so my general thing is like, my hope is that maybe the people that run the corporations of this world and the elites of this world have come to their senses that it's not going to go well for them if they continue to behave the way they're behaving and allowing things to continue. So I'm hoping that they allow Trump to become into office to kind of like actually try to change some things so people want to cooperate with the system and, you know, find some better path. I hope that's the case.
Yeah, straighten it out or something at the very least. Straighten the fuck
Or
out.
at least educate. If there's all these poisons, then put the information out there.
See,
and get
that's
the
where
conversation going.
I agree with Jeff on this big time. You know, I think biggest thing they should start with is labeling and warnings. You know,
Yeah,
like
I have no problem with that at all.
You know, they did it with smoking. So if you get a, you know, freezer of you know, mini wiener dogs or whatever, and it's got like some crazy, you know, I don't know, whatever chemical in it. You know, they should say, "Hey, warning! This chemical is in your food. It's used for preservation, but you might die if you continue consuming it." Thanks for playing.
Zance, are you talking to Mr. P? Why don't they pay for where they live?
Eating
I guess
too
they
many
want to know
of
your
these,
story.
like, miniature hot dogs will kill you.
Actually, I've talked about it already, but I'm not. I'm like you. When somebody calls me out to do something, I just disregard.
What?
What?
What? I didn't know if you're talking to me. I don't.
No, I'm sorry. We're talking in chat. Jeff and I were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. P's in the
nothing to do with you,
middle of
bud.
a move.
I see.
I'm in the middle of a move. But
Yeah,
anyways,
Shameless can tell you. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know this.
I
I don't
feel-
know myself. So
We don't have the energy or the
Well,
want to fucking keep
well,
talking about it. I'm
I don't know.
tired.
I don't know Mr. T very well, but I want to ask him, like, because you've been in the car business. I've known people in the car business, and it does seem that like our specific like debt, like how they.
NeuroJack, your phone thing.
I don't think.
You're chopping out. Chop it up.
All right, I'm
NeuroJack, you gotta plug in your jack,
Something
Jack.
about the car business. That's all I heard.
Oh, wait
Gotta
a minute.
plug in
Was
the
that
jack.
wait? Was that Jack? Or was that
He
Mr.
does it on this janky phone and while he's driving all the time, and this is the norm for him.
Yeah, I got problems of my own with this fucking laptop.
Well, that is my like. If we
Yeah?
ever get this thing up and running, I'm gonna start a technology fund and get some quality technology in
What a great
the
idea.
hands of all these regulars so they can actually participate. I think that would be a very valuable part of community building.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
community building is all right, I talked to this lady the other day. She's her and her husband came in. They have 4 kids. Okay. So the rule in their house is if you can read, you can cook. So everybody in the house knows how to cook. So if 2 or 3 of the kids are getting dropped off at soccer practice or whatever be it, somebody is home making dinner. So they're very independent. But what makes it possible is they're on a street where like everybody knows who they are, and if like they walk down the street and go to somebody's house, they know that's George's house or the next one over Steve's house. You know what I'm saying? So that type of community stuff is like, wouldn't you be happy to be like more out and about, knowing that you have a good relationship with people around you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, but like just walking into somebody's house uninvited, is that what you're saying?
That's what we do.
That's called breaking, entering, or trespassing, sir.
Oh, not in Louisiana.
Yeah, I mean, like if they're invited, I think that's
No, we
great.
never lock our doors. And if you need to borrow something, I've had so many people growing up. My sister's friends would just walk in the house and go in her closet and like borrow an outfit and say, "Oh, tell her I borrowed this. I'll bring it back in
Yeah,
a few
that
days."
makes
Oh,
makes
okay,
sense
no
with
big deal.
like
If you need
that,
something, take it and just give it
that
back when you're done.
that makes sense for people who are close, but like just strangers walking into your house and
Yeah, that's that trust. That's that trust.
Oh
Ooh,
shit!
I fell.
you fell
Sorry
off the
about that.
chair?
I almost killed the cat. My bad.
That sounded bad, man.
Whoa, you
It
are
is
tired.
life.
Did you get any sleep at all?
I hope he's okay. It sounded like he fell or something fell.
Yeah, it sounds like he fell off the chair and almost killed the cat. That was scary.
Oh man.
And then they have to drive and move and pack. I'm a little worried.
What? How far are they moving?
I don't know. Zance, I don't think they're squatting. They've been there for 14 years. I think they got a notice that they have to move for whatever reason, so they're in a crunch to get into a new place.
Yeah, man. I've been living here since.
What? Everyone's falling out of their chairs. That's not going to help build community at all.
Dude, I did the
Unless we bond over
thing because
funerals.
when you sit on the edge, you tend after a while I like to sit on the edge of the seat until it just gives out. And of course, I got freaking chipped right under me as soon as I came down.
Oh,
She couldn't
man.
even get
Is
out.
it fatigue? Are you tired at all?
Did you
Bro,
bang your head on
Is that a
something?
serious question?
Overexertion? Are you taking care? Are you doing self-care?
The last week? No, not even like a mile within self-care. No, I've been going. We've been going for like 3 or 4 days straight, dude. Like go work pretty much into the night, and then like go to bed at like 3 or 4. You know.
Okay, so
And
you're
then
there
again.
for one more night. You're going to be in a place tomorrow, and you're going to take like a day or so to just rest and recover. Is that the plan?
pretty much the plan.
Okay. I hope you get that. I hope you get to at least do that.
Yeah. I'm probably going to cut out in like about 15, 20 so I can get a couple hours.
Yeah,
of
I'm
show.
wrapping up
Tired,
anyway.
but-
We can close now if you want. Do you have anything you want to end with?
It's your show, bro. Oh, I'll just be grateful for what you have. You know, look around, appreciate what you have.
Yeah. All right,
You
guys.
don't know what you got till it's gone.
Thanks.
Well, Mr. P, hang in there. I hope you land in a good place. I hope you make it through the next day.
Yeah.
I hope the cat is okay.
The cat, where is the cat? Where is the cat?
Shameless, look
Where-
out for
He's
Mr.
He's just
P.
purring.
He's in the safety zone.
You guys need proof of life?
Look at your knee. It's a huge
They say we
wad
don't
of
look
fur.
out for women here, but I am concerned for the
If you need
pussy.
a proof of life, I can show you. I could show you the pussy is alive and well. Just now looking at me like I'm a fucking human anvil.
I'm worried about you, actually. Cats are be pretty
Thankfully, they're
resilient.
really
Yeah.
agile.
Yeah,
Well,
shameless.
it's not the first
y'all.
time I stepped on her.
Take care of yourselves. I know you had a thing the other day too. So,
Oh, she had the flu really bad.
like, we might have to start doing actual welfare checks, not the not the SWAT kind.
For sure.
So, well, it looks like you have plenty moral support
Anyways.
here at least. And if you need anything,
No, you know what,
that-
bro? That was the thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Finish. I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
I just got a thought. No, I was gonna say that was the thing. It was like I kind of didn't really like think about that as much as like how much support was like just in people that like I've never really met in person, which is some people think that it's like not real or it's not a good relationship. But personally, I think you have to build up a lot of trust to communicate, talk to somebody, and then even support them without ever meeting them. I think that's kind of a more of a intimate relationship, I think, than most. It's like it's easy to look at somebody in the shake their hand like, oh, he's got a good handshake. I could trust this guy. How? You don't fucking know.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
but when you're doing it this way, it's like you really have to intimately get to know each other. So I don't know. It's just nice that I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of people like really well, and even though it's not an in-person relationship, quote unquote, I feel like I do have friends here, regardless if they say that it's impossible to have.
Yeah, I
That's-
think there's
that's my
a
rant.
lot of people here that like and appreciate you both, and we want to see you in the best situation you can be in.
For sure.
Just if there's a way for us to help make that happen, reach out. In the
Appreciate
meantime,
that,
we'll be rooting you on and keep checking in.
Sounds good, man.
All right,
Hey.
well, take care, Shameless. Take care.
It was
Look
nice
out for
seeing you
each
at the
other.
other show too. By the way,
Well, it was not my plan to hop on, but
I get it, but it was cool.
Oh.
All right, bud.
all right, take care.
Later. You too.
Yeah, I hope we see you again soon. Then focus on the move and get that taken care of. Yeah, I stream regularly now, the same day every time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. I go for 2 hours unless I get enough super chats to continue going. Usually the 2-hour mark's been working. And then I started doing these little evening chats on some weekdays. Today I'm going to drop Hank's stream again. He's going to do a stream on a debate that Jim Bob and Sarah Tomato, David, what's his name? David Patrick Ryan are having tonight. He's going to restream it on his channel. We might do a watch party of it in the Discord. So I think tonight that's what I'll be doing. But I'll be here tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll continue to talk about community building, trust, politics, mental health, and bring your problems. We want to help people with problems, and like we want to burnish our problem-solving cred. So bring us all your little problems and let us help you try to solve them. Creative problem solving. Okay, I guess I'll go solve my own problems for the rest of the day, and mainly what am I going to eat for lunch, and then I'll be back tomorrow. Check out Hank's stream tonight, and I'll see you then. Hang on. All right, take care, everybody.